Well, Colm, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, for those at home who aren't familiar with you, tell us what you do.
So, a lot of the videos I post currently are arena or I would say Grand Hero Battle-based videos. I guess it depends on like perspective, but I would consider it like the end game content, and I focus a lot on that.
Right, that's cool. And you are are you a free-to-play player, or are you?
So okay, it's a little bit of a mixed road. My main account is definitely not free-to-play, but my alternate account is 100% free-to-play.
Okay. Okay, that's what it is. And with your primary one, is that the one where that's the one that we see you doing most of your arena runs with, is that right?
My main account, yeah.
Yeah.
The one where I usually put a little bit of money into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's a little bit easier to get premium fodder and a lot of the skills I need.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I understand that for sure. What does your free-to-play account look like right now? Because, I mean, that's a little bit of background. I'm definitely not a free-to-play player, but I have looked at sometimes people who are free-to-play, and so sometimes I have trouble advising them on builds because it's like, well, you know, what do you consider too expensive? So I guess, yeah, what does your free-to-play account sort of look like?
Yes, it's a really good question, and a lot of my time spent on my free-to-play account has been figuring out what is the most flexible way to spend the least amount of time but still be efficient. And to be honest, I think I have about maybe 35 stars, and then I think my barracks is probably like only 90 units. I don't let any unit go to waste, and I have a lot of builds pre-built or pre-planned out, so when I get stuff, I immediately use it. It's probably not the best free-to-play usage, but because I have that prior knowledge from the account where I can spend money on, I can use that knowledge. The reason I really started my free-to-play account was because I wanted more knowledge of the game, and by running different units, I could have twice as much knowledge of what works in the game. And free-to-play account has really helped me find a nice sweet spot where you can use resources kind of as they come without worrying if it's going to affect you in the future.
Right, and it's you were talking about using that to acquire experience. The videos that you have, the PvP battles that you record and the Bound Hero battles, but I guess specifically the PvP is what I'm sort of thinking of. You know, it sort of shows because it's you have that build to it, but not everything is completely vanilla all the time, which I think is really great.
Yeah, so a lot of what I would consider it's hard to talk about because I don't have a generalized term for it, but a lot of my building is based off of testing. And what I used to do is I would go into the arena for about probably 13 hours a week, run the same sets, and then try something different next week, and really just compare how they resulted against each other.
Yeah, that's a lot of time in arena.
It is. I don't spend as much time these days just because I think I'm at a nice sweet spot right now, but I think if anyone wanted a little bit of practice, you know, 3 hours arena assault every week, not picking every battle, but the ones that you think you could get practice off of, it's really helpful. It really is.
One thing, there's a few YouTubers that seem to, I don't want to say chronically because that makes it sound like a bad thing, but often find other Fire Emblem YouTubers online in the arena and do those, and you're one of them. You've had several videos of those so far. Forget who your last one was. Was it Texnera?
I'm not proud of spending in arena, but at the same time, it's really fun fighting other YouTubers' teams because they put a lot of time, obviously, into the game, so they can make their own videos, and there's a lot of effort. You can tell there's a lot of love put into the units as well, which is really what I love about arena. Finding those units that have that love and dedication put into them.
Yeah, it is something to see the builds that other people come up with. I mean, I always present several builds, but then I go look around, and sometimes I feel very uncreative compared to some people in this community. It's amazing.
I feel the same way. It's so much stuff comes out of left field, and you're like, I never would have thought about that. I've had maybe 2 people find me so far, and it's really a shame because I would like to know how my defense team works more of the time. It's one of those things I also want to get into is defense team building, and I don't have any knowledge of how my team works and defense team. So
no, that is a huge sticky problem because you don't have. I was actually just talking about this the other week, actually, with someone where, since you can't see what's going on, which I think is a feature this game needs, but since you can't see what's going on, there's just a lot of guesswork, and there's a lot of things that you know intuitively, especially after you go into Arena, like, if you have reposition, they're always going to go ahead and pull people back, and, these particular skills aren't good because you just get baited, but, I don't know, I wouldn't say I have a guide or a, set in stone plan, but, whenever I have the units available, I always end up making a good defensive team. Sometimes I just get no good bonus unit, though, so...
Yeah, I know that feeling so well.
So that
defense team building is probably one of the most interesting things out there. If you can at least find footage of your team. Yeah,
absolutely. And that is important because you can theory craft it all you want, but it's you have to see exactly how the AI is going to handle it because you don't know all the circumstances. So, and maps, of course, change it too drastically.
Oh my god, yes. Maps make such a difference, and it makes me so upset when I find a map with, like, a really bad map for a really good team composition. And it kind of ruins the intimidation factor of those units, which is so upsetting.
It is. It's very upsetting. I can't say I've felt bad for the other people, but there's been times where it's like, oh wow, I dodged a bullet there.
Exactly. I know that feeling so well. I think the only time I've been super upset about maps is probably when I fought Chaz's team. Map just did not work for him, and I wanted to face like all 4 of his units bulked up. It just didn't work out quite as I thought it would.
And dedication that you can see towards some of those teams is remarkable. Once again, like you'll see some creative builds, you'll see some all-themed teams, and not only are they fun to face against, but they're just so different and so well composed that they catch you off guard.
When something catches me out of left field, like in the middle of a battle, and I realize I can't come back from it, despite it being a loss, it is probably one of the best feelings ever. Because it's a challenge. And at the end of the day, you kind of laugh it off if you lose or you win. It was still a good challenge.
Well, sounds like I'm a little bit different from you. I've gone through a lot of coffee tables ever since Heroes came out. But otherwise, no, I do find that to be great, and you learn something whenever you bump into like a particular setup that's just like, oh, like I remember whenever Guidance first came out, everybody's like, oh, this is gonna be crazy, and then it wasn't there at first, at least for me, and then suddenly it came out of nowhere, and it's like, oh my gosh, I knew about this skill for weeks, and here I am.
I feel like that happens with a lot of units that get released. Is it takes a long time for them to start kicking in and start seeing those builds that you were assuming you were going to see to really start being prevalent.
One of the things that I tell some people who are like really insistent about knowing, like, oh no, I gotta have a good defensive team, is that one thing that works out well is to take a new unit that doesn't have a bunch of exclusive skills but has something new and basically rebuild that unit on someone else. I mean, like, obviously there's the Guidance Seal now, but I mean, back in the day, like, what caught me off guard was a Cordelia with Guidance, not a, Tana, and so, or Alencia. I'm sorry, regardless, it was the same darn build. Like, if I would have just looked at it a little harder, I would have saw what was coming, but I didn't, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what to expect from Cordelia. No, I did not.
I can say the same thing. I've met Guidance Cordelias with Fire Sleep, and I'm thinking, yes, I totally have this. And then Kagero and Black Knight teleport, and it's like, oh, what have I done wrong? It's a surprising thing, but it's at the same time you learn from it too.
Absolutely. So, in addition to the PvP fights that you film, you do something that I actually stopped doing a while ago for some reason is you do playthroughs of the different Grand Hero and Bound Hero battles.
Yeah, I've actually taken a liking to doing Grand Hero battles lately. I never liked them when I first started Heroes, but there is a challenge to it, and if you're using the same exact team for every single one, it almost makes you feel like it's almost always possible to bring that team through every single Grand Hero battle. And there's always a way to get through. And the amount of satisfaction you get from beating it with that same team every time is like nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
I think a lot of people feel it the same way, yeah.
Yeah, everybody does have their
you stopped
favorites.
doing Grand Hero battle videos?
Yeah, I did actually. I was recording them for a while, and then I noticed that a lot of people sometimes like, oh, I saw this video, but I didn't have these units, so I couldn't do it. So actually what I started doing was doing, I tried to come up with 3 different teams and run that through each one. And so that was useful. It was good, but I mean, it took me forever. Everybody else already beat me to the punch on YouTube, which if...
Yeah, I guess if you're not running some kind of non-free-to-play guide, yeah, it is really tricky. And if you're running a free-to-play guide, it's just as tricky.
Yeah.
I didn't explain that very well, did I? But both are just as tricky, and the timeline in which that, if we could... I feel like it'd be much easier for a lot of other free-to-play based users and a lot of the guide users. I don't know if there's been any Grand Hero battles or Bound Hero battles that haven't been completed with free-to-play, but I remember looking at Discord and I've seen people struggling on some. It would be nicer to have a little bit more variety, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. What was it? I remember some people rejoicing whenever Gordon was available for one of those 3 Heroes battles. They're like, yes!
I don't think I've seen anyone use Gordon yet, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, he's all right. It's fine. I moved past him quickly, unfortunately, but no, he was nice.
A little bit off topic, but Gordon is a really fun unit to fight in Arena. I've found some really entertaining sets on him. I wish I would see a little bit more.
Yeah, I haven't found him too often. But it's funny, that sort of makes me think of something that you did say earlier about whenever you were looking for people in Arena. I know we're going back to PvP talk, but when you're looking for people in Arena, one of the things you do is you try to find other matchups that that you haven't had very much experience with. And that sort of ties into something, I've already said, which, it's fun to get to actually see something different. But yeah, that's the sort of sad thing is that sometimes Arena can be rather stale. Like, you'll see 2 to 3 very common units, and then maybe a 4th random one, whether it's
that's their favorite unit usually, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I have my favorite, character right here, and then I have all these powerhouses, and
Yep. I don't want to say it ruins the Arena match, but in a sense, if they're the Arena powerhouses that you generally see, you generally have an idea of how to deal with them. So that 4th unit is kind of put in a situation where you can deal with all 3 other units, but you're not sure how that 4th unit's going to behave. But if you play smart, you can obviously kill those 3 units off and then deal with that guy last.
Right. Yeah, you have your pick
of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing, whenever I evaluate a build, I have my own threat list that I call the DPT, because I'm vain in it.
DPT.
Yeah, I name it after myself because it makes me feel better. But yeah, it's composed of, like, some things are like in top level tier list or just like super powerful. Like you don't see Bride Cordelia anymore, but she's still in there because she still has the most punch for a Brave Bow user. So if you're sitting there thinking, I should be able to take any user, like any Brave Bow archer, it's a good metric to compare against. But I mean, the rest of the other stuff, sometimes there are some more powerful things that could technically go in there, but nobody runs them. So I mean,
and I think for like your case, because you're trying to generalize a large group of units in which you may or may not see, but like it really does work out well because you're generalizing a shit ton of units.
Yes.
Excuse my French, but it's rather impressive.
Just keeping up
with a lot of builds, because I think, as you've seen, the meta changes rather spontaneously at times.
Yeah.
And keeping up with the meta is just as much a chore as keeping up with tier 20 arena.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And
don't see often that you don't think of, and that's unexpected, is it's a gem in a sea of I don't know if monotony is the right word, but a lot of sameness altogether.
Oh, absolutely.
I know a lot of people are willing to build meta units, and honestly, I myself struggle to find time to sit down and just build a unit at times, but you know, honestly, if you're struggling to find a unit that you like, and I would suggest you build a unit you like, but if you're struggling to find a unit you like, find someone you can relate to. And that's what my core team is. Every character on my core team has a personality that relates to me. And if you're looking for a core team that you can really like, that you feel would be worth putting the investment into, just find some personalities that you like or are similar to yours. That would be my suggestion.
Well, thank you so much, Colm. This has been great. Tell me, where can people find me?
So you guys can find me on YouTube at Colm. I don't know my URL off the top of my head like some people. If you type Fire Emblem Heroes and Colm, and you're sure to find me.
Yes. Yeah, you definitely come up doing that.
Thanks again, man. I had a lot of fun talking. Maybe in the future it would be really fun to do again. So.
Oh, I think this would be a great to do again. Absolutely. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.